In this video, I'm going to talk about why our education system is broken, why grades don't matter, and that the way we're being educated in this country is actually holding us back from entrepreneurship. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell button to be notified when new videos come out. Now, growing up as an Asian American with strict parents, I was expected to get good grades in whatever subject I took, and there were no exceptions. And even though I haven't taken a class in decades, the thought of getting a B still sends chills up my spine. In fact, I occasionally have nightmares where I'm taking an exam in a classroom full of nerds and I don't know any of the answers. Crazy, right? Well, now what if I told you that getting good grades was bad for entrepreneurship and that my entire Asian upbringing actually hindered me from starting a successful business? All right, calm down, crazy tiger parents. I haven't gone off the deep end, but please don't revoke my Asian membership card. But I do want you to hear me out. After starting multiple seven-figure businesses while raising two kids, I've come to realize that getting good grades and entrepreneurship don't always mix. Now, you'll probably find this shocking, but I was a model student in both high school and college, and my parents raised me to believe that getting good grades would take me the distance in life. Get good grades, get into a good school, get a job, and then ride your career into the sunset. Now, for the most part, I still believe these principles hold true. My grades in high school allowed me to get into Stanford, which allowed me to get a great job designing microprocessors, where I worked for 17 years before I quit. Now, in hindsight, I could have very easily have stayed at my day job for another 17 years and lived a cushy corporate lifestyle. Now, would I have been happy? Maybe. Would I have the freedom that I have today? No way. In fact, the freedom piece is the missing ingredient from the prototypical Asian success equation. And it's something that I didn't realize until I had my own kids. Now, here's the thing. My parents did a great job of raising my brother and I and supported us no matter what profession we decided to pursue, as long as it was a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. Now, just quick note here, my brother and I are typical cookie-cutter Asian kids. My brother went to Harvard and Harvard Law and is now a practicing lawyer. I got a BS and MS in electrical engineering from Stanford, and we both played piano in a varsity sport in high school, and we were on the math team, debate team, etc. Now, with my parents, I actually didn't see them as often as I would have liked. And I was actually closer to my grandma, who took care of me during the day while my parents were at their day jobs. Now, my mom worked 9 to 7, Monday through Friday, and often spent time in the lab on weekends. And likewise, my dad was gone from 9 to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, and worked a good number of weekends as well. Now, don't get me wrong. I fully appreciate the opportunities that my parents opened up for me. But for my kids, I wanted to provide the same level of support that my parents gave me without sacrificing quality family time. Now, here's just a quick side story. In order to afford my Stanford education while my brother was in Harvard Law School, my dad actually came out of retirement and went back to work full time. And at the time, I didn't realize why he took another job until well after I graduated. So thank you, Dad. I really appreciate it. Anyway, I told myself that I would never choose money or work at the expense of getting to know my own children. And entrepreneurship was my solution. And today, my wife and I had the flexibility to be present with our family without worrying about financial constraints. Now, we're not rich, but we're not poor either. Now, my only regret is that I wish I started my businesses sooner. And honestly, I believe that being raised as a straight A machine held me back. Anyway, the purpose of today's video is to reflect on specific examples and experiences where getting good grades had a negative impact on my entrepreneurial spirit. Now, right now, you're probably wondering where I'm going with this video. After all, how can getting an A possibly hinder you in business? Now, it's not about the grade itself, but the mindset of getting the A that kills you. So first off, the quest for the A grade often requires you to follow directions and complete assignments in a way that the teacher or professor expects. I once took a software programming class in college where one of the final projects was to design a blackjack game using object-oriented principles. Now, this assignment was actually a great exercise and fun to code, but there were many problems with the way the project was presented to the students. Instead of providing high-level objectives and letting the students just run with it, the teacher gave us pre-written skeleton code, which made the assignment essentially brain dead. All you had to do was just fill in the blanks where the guts of the functions were missing. Now, I wanted to learn how to create this program from the ground up, so I didn't use any of the sample code or frameworks at all. Essentially, I chose to write the program completely from scratch, and it took me a while, but my blackjack program was excellent, if I do say so myself, and my finished product was way beyond the scope of the assignment. But when I got my project back, I full-on expected to get an A, but instead, I was greeted with an ominous, "Please see me" note. Now, the professor explained to me that while my program worked just fine, and fulfilled the objectives of the project, he couldn't give me a good grade because I didn't use his frameworks and pre-written code. He actually called me in to give me another chance, but I had to complete the assignment the same way as everyone else. So what could I do? I didn't want a bad grade, so I grudgingly completed the program by just filling in the pre-designated functions. Later on, the teaching assistant commiserated with me and told me that all students had to follow the framework in order to ensure easy and consistent grading. Now, I can understand the motive, but I still find this policy ridiculous to this day. The professor effectively prevented me from coding the way I wanted to code and restrained my creativity. Now, getting good grades also requires you to conform to your professor's way of thinking. Now, this is especially true for classes that are fuzzy and require you to write papers as part of your final grade. I took an art history class my freshman year in college where the final grade was based on 2 essay exams that were taken in the middle and the end of the term. Now, I actually took a keen interest to this class, and for my first midterm exam, I decided to write an essay that captured my own interpretations of the art. I wrote a pretty good essay that compared and contrasted my views to that of the professor. And while I mostly agreed with the professor's points, I also provided arguments that contradicted him as well, and this resulted in a B-. Now, fearing a bad grade, I decided not to make the same mistake on the final. For the final essay, I wrote a canned paper that essentially regurgitated the lectures. I used similar terminology that the professor used in describing the paintings, and I used verbiage like resilient suppleness and texture reasoning, both phrases that would normally never have come from my mouth. Now, I got an A in the final, and for the class, well, I learned that I had to imitate someone else to do well. Now, sometimes getting an A requires no brain power at all. This is especially true for classes such as math, where various formulas are used to obtain an answer. Because many classes don't emphasize the applications, getting an A often entails plugging a bunch of numbers into a formula. Sure, the teacher derives the formula for you, but unless you have context for what the equations are used for, you often end up plugging and chugging to get the answer. Now, why would you use your brain when you can simply use a canned method to obtain the answer? How many of you actually remember calculus from college? And how many of you actually know when and how to use it? Now, solving problems based on formulas is problematic because it trains you to see the world in terms of right and wrong answers. It makes you less likely to take action unless you have all the information. Now, I remember being shocked when I discovered that my college classes were all graded on a curve. For my freshman physics class, my professor outright announced to the class that only 10% of us were going to get an A. Now, what did this do to my mentality? Well, it immediately put me into competition mode. I didn't try and help anyone out with their problem sets, nor did I collaborate with anyone on the assignments. And as far as I was concerned, it was every man for himself, and I carried this frame of mind into business for the longest time. Now, when I look back at my high school and college career, I fully understand the need to assign grades to students, but the skills required to get straight A's in school are not conducive to success in less structured environments like the business world, where there is no set path. Now, I'm not an expert in education, but what I can say is that thinking outside the box, nonconformity, and collaboration are the pillars of entrepreneurship. There's no magic formula for success. In order to succeed, you have to stand out from the pack and make up your own rules. Now, here's the irony of my life. I spent 16 years following a rigid set of guidelines, trying to please everyone and fit in with my peers, when the complete opposite is what made me successful in business. When I graduated from college, grades were the only thing that I was good at. I was great at following rules and not making them, which made me second guess myself a lot. Am I doing this the right way? How are other people doing it? Am I even qualified to do this? So for example, when I first started writing for mywifequitherjob.com, I tried to blend in with other blogs in my niche. I avoided controversy at all costs, and I mimicked other popular authors. I was afraid of upsetting anyone with my writing, and I copied other people because I was searching for rules to follow and role models to imitate. Now, it took me several years, but I eventually learned to trust my own voice, worry less about rejection, and that's when my blog really started taking off. Anyway, here's the dilemma with my own kids. On one hand, I want my kids to get good grades in order to develop a great work ethic. But on the other hand, I don't want them turning into mindless, grade-grubbing robots that can't think outside the box. I also don't want them to fear rejection like I did for many years, and it's a delicate balance that I'm still trying to figure out. Now, what are your thoughts on grades and the current education system? I would love to know in the comments below. Hope you enjoyed this video. Now, if you like what you saw, there's actually a lot more where that came from if you subscribe to my channel below. And if you are interested in learning how to sell physical products online, then click over here and take my free 6-day mini course where I'll walk you through everything that you need to know to get started in e-commerce. Thanks for watching.